people are down here at the Sydney Opera House today, all just to catch a glimpse of MrBeast.
YouTube star MrBeast.
The internet celebrity MrBeast.
Let's find out more about MrBeast.
It was like I was a wet towel and I would just squeeze to this like gross little rag by the end of it. With Jimmy's factoring data, the human cost is not a factor. Everyone at the workplace hated him, but everyone outside person is like, oh, you're so lucky to work with someone that nice. It's not emotion, it's not care, it's not empathy. It's calculation, and it's manipulation, and it's deceptive.
Spread out the money as much as you can. Now, act a little surprised. Like, be like really shocked with your mouth open.
Subscribe to MrBeast.
Yeah, that's the name of my channel.
Me making minimum wage and him talking about like, yeah, I think everyone's so great. And there's an obvious discrepancy with like, oh, his best friends make the money. They were getting bonuses for making Jimmy happy. I wanted to get paid appropriately for my hard work. I swear I must have been called a fucking idiot or the R word on a daily basis from the guy. Only to the point where I can't like function anymore, right? Things that stop normal people who care about stuff don't stop him, because Jimmy just cares about one thing, and it's why everyone gets hurt.
Jimmy Donaldson is the largest content creator on YouTube with over 330 million subscribers, and may be the biggest influencer in the world. Known more often as MrBeast, his videos are packed with high-energy edits, designed to keep your brain hypnotized for every second of runtime. He implores you to buy his chocolate bars, action figures, burger meals, video game collaborations, Walmart briefcases, lunch meals, and so many more items on the horizon, all to make you feel like part of his crew. And what could be better than joining MrBeast? His name comes with visions of working on over-the-top videos, meeting celebrities, and being a part of something bigger than yourself that just keeps growing. As Jimmy wrote in the production rulebook he gave to producers, if you're ambitious and want to dedicate your life to work, you picked the best company in America to do it at. My name is Stephen Asarch, and since Jimmy Donaldson was just a teenager counting to 100,000, I've been writing about his rise to fame at Newsweek, Business Insider, Inverse, Complex, Rolling Stone, and of course Passionfruit. I've interviewed Jimmy about his attempt at a real-life battle royale, and plunged into the minds of his cohorts. More recently, I've been covering the darker side of MrBeast's comically large empire, reporting on claims of sexual assault inside the company, and claims of mistreatment of workers on the set of his Amazon reality show Beast Games. To further explore the culture and working environment at MrBeast Productions, the best company in America, if you're ambitious, I sat down with two former employees about their direct experience with Jimmy Donaldson.
The beginning of 2018, he actually released a tweet, and it was like just looking for new video editors as we expand the channel. I think there's only one video editor there at the time, maybe two, probably just one of them. And I responded to the tweet. I had been video editing for years at that point. We just took over the conversation in DMs, and then he booked a flight for me like a week later.
At the time, Matt Turner was only 18 and had just dropped out of high school the semester beforehand. The MrBeast channel was just a few million subscribers large, working out of a tiny office, a lot smaller than it would be just a few years later. Traveling to Donaldson's hometown of Greenville, North Carolina, Turner competed in an editing trial across 7 days to earn a coveted spot on the team.
I think like what attracted Jimmy to hire me was how adaptable I was in certain situations on shoot. If a problem would arise, I would be the one helping try to fix it. When I got there, he wasn't using his Instagram. I was like putting together strategies for Instagram use. No one wanted to touch the Instagram. They were all about the YouTube. I was putting together like PowerPoints of this is why you should be on Instagram. Let me just take the photos while we're shooting. I was like the guy who was trying to help with everything I possibly could. And I was so passionate about YouTube. That was like my thing. And so then to be around this group, I was like, all right, perfect. This will be a dream experience. And so, and then like when I had got there, I had only used After Effects before. When I got there and only Premiere was on the computer, I was like, I said it. I was like, I've never used Premiere, but I'm going to learn it today. Day one of this trial, and I'm going to edit this better than any other editor. And I think he was like, awesome, like something perfect. And I remember when people were talking to me, when I got hired and hadn't been there yet, they were like, oh yeah, he's so stoked for you to be there. He's going to like, Turner's going to fix all our problems. And I was like, yeah, that was my goal. I wanted to do anything I could to help the guy.
The appeal of working for MrBeast was more than just the recognition Turner received. It opened up a whole new world of opportunities trickling down from Beast and his boys.
A lot of the pull of actually once I was offered the job was like, I was staying in a hotel at the time. The end of the workday would come, and he's like, yo, let's over to my place and play like Mario Kart or Fortnite and all this, and now let's go bowling together. Not me included, but like the other employees. Not that I had FOMO by any means, but the point of that was intentionally to make it seem like everyone was like best friends. And I remember I got there, and after I was already having problems, I asked who I was living with at the time, who was also on the team. I was like, so we never hang out. What was that? And I got a confirmation. They were like, yeah, that absolutely never happened. That was just like a whole bait process or whatever. I was like, oh, fantastic. That checks out.
After winning the role, Turner entered the production bullpen, which was a lot less full than he expected.
It must have only been like, give or take one or two, like 6 people probably. It was a very small team. Me and another editor, 2 or so on-camera personalities. Maybe had 2 million subscribers, and when I left, like 8. I'm not exactly sure on the numbers, but just for reference, it was a much, much smaller channel. I mean, and it's funny because by any other YouTube channel, that's a big channel, but obviously when we're referencing the size now, very small.
Content transitioned from simple to much larger in scope and ridiculousness. One day, Jimmy would be giving away $20,000 in an ice cream truck. In another, he'd take a flamethrower to an ice sculpture.
I actually felt like I was learning a lot. Like, I had been editor for other people, but at this time I was also cameraman and editor. If I would edit the video, there's more than likely a chance that I was also the one filming it. My first few weeks there was fantastic. I mean, there was maybe a problem here or there, but this was my first like real job. I had just dropped out of high school this semester beforehand, and now I'm living in North Carolina. Who I was living with, my roommate, I loved the kid. Oh, we're still really good friends now. It wasn't even that I had rose-tinted glasses. It was just like a new environment I was happy to be a part of. 3 weeks in, I guess really when like one grape would go sour at a time. I guess the first major one was like 2 weeks in, when Ava was like, started talking about lolly, and everyone thought it was funny, and it was just this weird, like, I never heard of it. I remember the question was like, oh, did you know about lolly? Do you mess with lolly? And I remember being like, what the hell is a lolly?
During this era of viral decadence, Ava Chris Tyson, Jimmy's second-in-command and first YouTube subscriber, had run a Discord server where she would talk to minors about lolly, a term for explicit illustrations of young girls, alongside other inappropriate conversations. None of this information was known by anyone outside of MrBeast until recently when people came forward with their messages, conversations, and receipts. A law firm hired by MrBeast found grooming allegations were not founded. I spoke with a former MrBeast employee who asked to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation from Jimmy. They confirmed that the crew loved edgy jokes and edgy humor, and it was like a high school boys' locker room all the time. In the MrBeast production manual, there's a section at the end indicating it's okay for the boys to be childish. If talent wants to draw a dick on the whiteboard in the video or do something stupid, let them, assuming they know all the risks and aren't missing context on why it's not safe. People like when we are in our natural element of stupidity. Really do everything you can to empower the boys when filming and help them make content. Help them be idiots.
At this point, a few weeks in, when I'm introduced to this, there's already other small problems cropping up. And who am I to be like, yo, you guys gotta check yourself? I'm also the youngest one at the time.
MrBeast's first real taste of massive virality, which had nothing to do with his sheer endurance, came from giving away money. Whether it was to the homeless, Twitch streamers, or pizza delivery drivers, Jimmy learned that an easy way to get a video on the trending tab was to pull at his audience's heartstrings.
That's when this job became an absolute nightmare, honestly, when the editing became a problem, and not even that, like, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but the video where we had our big blow-up fight was, I guess, like a couple months in when it was like giving away $500,000 to random people was the name of it.
The series where I just be nice and just give people some help. I'm not joking.
No, man. Are you serious?
I swear, giving multiple homeless people $1,000 each.
At the time, we hadn't given away $500,000 on camera. It was more like $420 or $440. So on YouTube, you can be like giving away $20,000, but maybe you're actually giving away 19 grand or 18 or 17, but obviously that's not as good of a title, and that's with every YouTuber ever. Like at 1,000, it's not even a bad thing to just like make the number punchier. So we would be a few thousand behind on every video, and then when it came time to edit this compilation, and the request was the exact number on every single clip in the bottom corner, don't fudge up numbers. So I already knew this was an impossible task. I was like, bro, I don't know what to do edit these videos. I know that isn't going to be possible, but
We must make Dad happy.
whatever. We're all listening to my criticism there. We're going along with it. So I'm like, all right, perfect. Day one, 8-hour day of putting together this compilation. No problem, it's my job, but at the end of the day, I'm like, hey man, so I edited this around like 4:20. He's like, oh, you must have done it wrong. Tomorrow, Tuesday, come around, do it again. I was like, all right, I'll give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I did something wrong. So Tuesday comes another 8-hour day of making this compilation. Oh yeah, Jim, you're actually, so we're at 4:20 yesterday, we're at like 4:20 and $12. Like, it's the same thing. So then Wednesday comes along. This whole week is like, no, get back in there and edit it, but also don't lie in the corner. Like, we can't lie, but you have to edit this exactly in this way. And I was like, dude, I'm going to go nuts. This is impossible. So, lo and behold, Thursday comes around, still impossible. I'm fudging up numbers, and I'm like, all right, I'll lie a little bit in the corner, but now we're at 450. Like, I can't just let you lie in the video, or maybe at the end of the video, you do a little segment where you're like, yeah, I didn't even get all of them on camera. By Wednesday, he wasn't open to that, and he said, absolutely not. Thursday comes around, we're like 30 hours into this edit. Friday comes around, and at this point, I'm going to go nuts. And I remember, like, Friday or Thursday morning, he took my project file, deleted it, and said, restart, pulling all the clips. Like, wiped all my progress clean, so now I had to actually fully restart. I mean, I'm in 8 hours a day, no windows. It's me, a desk, and a treadmill in a very small room with a big light overhead, so I'm going nuts. And I remember criticism back in the day was like, oh, that's just incompetence of an editor. I'm like, no, this is impossible. This isn't incompetence. I know how to edit. I just can't do the task. So Friday comes around, and Thursday, when he deletes the project file, I remember he's like, God, you're still a fucking idiot. Can you do this right? And again, I'd recommended our ways out of this, do the clip at the end, or me lie in the corner. I couldn't do what he was asking. So I remember when he called me a fucking idiot, and he wiped all my footage. I was frustrated, I was annoyed, and I remember I was like, dude, I'm just gonna take a walk real quick. Like, seeing my work get deleted and also be made fun of for it was just tough to witness. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna take a walk. Give me like 2 minutes and I'll be back. And go to someone else who's editing a video. I'm like, hey man, like, what do you think I should do on this project exactly? Like, it's not possible and it never will be, and he's denying the suggestions I'm giving him. Before I could even get a response on help, genuinely, the door is open like a small crack. The soul print of this man's boo is probably still in that door. He kicked it wide open so hard. He goes, oh, you effing R word, you're such an effing R word, what the F is wrong with you? God, can you do anything right? I can't believe I hired such an effing R word. Kept going and screaming and getting louder. So he was like losing his mind on me. And again, I'm 18, I'm an outside hire. By this point, I was already dealing with a lot with this guy. If I did something wrong in an edit, rather than correct it, he'd be like, wow, you're a fucking idiot. Oh, you're a fucking R-word. He's already using transphobic, homophobic, racist slurs on a daily basis, but now these things are coming at me. And so at this moment where he's screaming at me over and over and over again, like this 5-minute tirade with people watching, which is humiliated, the whole office can hear this. Get the fuck back in that editing room, and I don't want to see you again until this video is done, you effing R-word again. So then he slams the door and walks out of the office, and I'm about to cry. I mean, like, again, this is a big build-up over the course of a week, if not months, of mistreatment, and this was like the explosion. He walked out of the office. I'm 18. I'm going to cry. I'm going to have a mental breakdown. Something's going to happen. And so I remember I went over to his mom, and there was no HR at the time. Obvious conflict of interest. There was no one to talk to with this issue. So I go to his mom, and I'm like, this is so inappropriate. Like, how can somebody talk to me like that? Like, this, that, and the other thing, making a formal complaint. And I remember his mom goes, wow, I can feel that would be frustrating, but I think you must have misheard him. I'm like, oh, okay, I see how we're going to play this. All right, perfect. So again, I'm in this pickle of, I'm living 10, 12 hours away from my home. I don't have anyone to talk to at home about this. I'm not getting any retribution. Like, his mom just said I misunderstood. Like, I don't get it. I edited the video again that day, same exact outcome, and then I come in Monday and he's like, oh yeah, I actually just, at the end I was like, oh, I didn't actually, record all of this, but I recommended on Tuesday.
You might have noticed the montage stopped at like $460,000, and that's because not every time I do something good, I put it on camera. Like when I bought my little sister a car, of course I'm not gonna use her as clickbait and like tons of other stuff. The point is like, not every time I do something good, I put it online.
Yeah, sorry, that was the big editing nightmare that I went through. And I wish I could say that was uncommon, but like, again, there was one time where he was like, hey, in this video, why don't you do a lot more zoom-ins with the camera, a lot of pop zooms? So I was like, okay, got it. He watches it back, he's like, well, fuck, idiot would do this many pop zooms. This was an average day in the life. I swear I must have been called a fucking idiot or the R word on a daily basis from the guy.
The whole crew felt when Jimmy was having a good or bad day. As the anonymous former employee told me, the project was not just done, but done to the point that Jimmy was happy. You could create a video that could be perfect, and it could get scrapped because Jimmy was in a bad mood that day, or it could get scrapped because he just didn't like you. While a 20-year-old MrBeast was giving hundreds of thousands of dollars away and earning enough to keep the channel splurging, multiple employees I spoke with, including Turner, shared that they were making close to minimum wage.
Probably $600 to $800 a week, which especially when I got out of the house and made my video about my time, it was like, yeah, you worked for MrBeast, you must have got paid so much. I was like, yeah, it was a minimum wage out-of-state job. It was what it was for an 18-year-old, but by no means by making good money. Me making minimum wage and him talking about like, yeah, I can't get along so great, and there's an obvious discrepancy with like, oh, his best friends make the money. Like, if I'm an out-of-state hire, I don't make anything. The people we grew up with, they make a lot. So I guess that was annoying, the huge pay gap, even though it was the same amount of work.
What started as a dream job had morphed into something that felt abusive, where those caught in the swell felt like a tiny ship, rocking with the waves without any control.
We were doing this video, can 1,000 rolls of duct tape stop a car? I think it might have been this video, maybe $1,000 ice sculpture versus flame. But around that time, we did a video with guns and like explosions and shooting a cake or something.
That video never came out, which isn't too rare of an occurrence for MrBeast. He's uploaded entire compilations of videos that were never released for either not reaching his expectations or just not working. Multiple former employees have told me about other rejected videos, like a Guinness World Record winning giant burger, which has only shown up in other creators' videos.
I had never been around guns. A kid from Massachusetts, I just never in my life. And so when we got to set, everyone was given ear protection. And I don't know if this was an intentional prank or what, but I got out of the truck, only one no ear protection, and must have been 24 inches from my head. Ava shot an AK, just like 1 or 2 bullets, but it was like the loudest thing I had ever heard in my life, to the point where my hearing was gone for the next hour. And it was like a funny joke to everybody. This was terrifying for me, so I was like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, dude, I seriously can barely hear anything out of my ears right now, because an AK is loud, but an AK a few inches from here, it's just like deafening. And we're like, no, you're good. It's alright, shut the fuck up, please.
After 3 months working in the belly of the beast, Turner realized that his mental health was starting to deteriorate, and a job just wasn't worth his mental collapse.
It kept building up to the breaking point of bullying, confirming with other coworkers of like, why does he hate? Like, I remember I had to ask a coworker, why does my boss actually hate me and treat me different? And that was the point in my mind where I was like, I haven't had a real job yet, but I know I shouldn't have to ask this about my boss, right? I have this video in my car still on my computer now, and I remember I would get home back to my apartment every day and just like cry, because I filmed myself just like what I was going through every day, and I was like hitting my steering wheel and crying, and like seeing now it's like the saddest thing I've ever seen is like this creative hungry kid like only to the point where I can't like function anymore, right? Yeah, led to a terrible period in my life, but the breaking point was just bullying and torment and the worst day of my life every day for months. It must have been obvious, because I had the life drained out of me, and so one day Jimmy pulled me and a couple other people into our room separately, but I was the second one, I think, pulled into a room that day, and they're like, hey, how are you liking working here, I think was one of the questions. I was like, I hate it, actually. And they're like, yeah, how about we just mutually agreed to split ways. And at the time, I was like, that was like the best day of my life, hearing those words. I didn't get a contract valid until 3 more months in the future, 4 more months. And so they're like, we'll pay out the rest of the contract, but you don't have to work here anymore. They're like, we totally see you hate this. And I was like, thanks God. And so, yeah, it was mutually agreed upon, honestly.
Sitting alone in his apartment, with the weight of serving MrBeast's expanding empire off his shoulders, Turner could move on with his life. So after a friend invited him to go backpacking across Southeast Asia, he knew it was exactly what he needed.
You know, I went home, I called my girlfriend at the time, I was so happy. I called my mom, I was so happy, and she was happy for me because she was putting up with the horror stories I was telling consistently every day. And so she was just like, thank God, like, you know, obviously her son's mental health could start improving from here. So she was happy, my, at the time, girlfriend was happy. My friend contacted me coincidentally actually the day I left the position, and he asked if I wanted to go backpacking in Southeast Asia. I went to Vietnam, Bali, China.
After returning from his trip, Turner decided to make a video about his experience at MrBeast, but only focused on the positive, fearful of the response the internet might have to criticism of the philanthropic young entrepreneur. Only one former MrBeast employee had shared a negative take on YouTube before, Fly Does YT. In response, Jimmy went on a drama monger's channel and trash-talked the whistleblower completely.
He fabricates everything. He's just trying to get attention, and it's sad, but now I know I can't trust people, that especially people on the internet, because, you know, if my numbers are good, they're just gonna fucking fabricate and lie and try to use me as a stepping stone, and it's honestly just pathetic, and it really makes me not, you know, I can't trust people. Like, today is hard.
Everything he said in the video was right, and the whole office knew it. And this guy got on so much, I was like, all right, I'm not doing that as soon as I left. And I really feel like the trauma for me, young kid at the time, didn't settle yet. And so I was like, all right, I'm going backpacking. I don't want to be getting shit online, but I do want to pull a little bit of internet clout from working there. I'll do a good thing. I'll say, oh, my time here was great.
But around a year later, Turner posted a new video and a series of tweets sharing his more negative experience at the company, and in early 2021, sat for an interview with the New York Times.
Everybody did that because nobody wanted to be the guy to go against it. Definitely, I mean, I shot myself on the foot with that, but then come a year later, I was like really dealing with the trauma and mental health effects of like post working there and being what it was like, and every day being like, oh, you're so lucky, you should go back there, what a nice guy. I was like, fuck, dude, I'm just gonna make an honest video. It was so tame, like, I really was trying to be as middle of the road as possible. I was like, hey, listen, I had a really bad work experience, and I say this in the video, but it's probably a net positive for the world. This can't be everybody's experience. I was trying to be as honest, but also, like, I just didn't want to get the other guy got. So I was saying all my gripes. I was bullied, this, that, and everything happened, but also be fair for the fan base who I knew would be watching this and dissecting it. And so then I hit upload. I was like, all right, I spoke my truth. This will be the end of it.
And then Turner's fears were immediately justified. At the time, he wasn't believed and was lambasted by commentary videos packed with late 2010s gameplay, who felt that he was just a clout goblin, looking to capitalize on the drama, dragging the loving and generous MrBeast through the mud.
For years and years, I was told to keep myself every day online. Like, people are going to come to your house, and people were DMing me on Twitter. My Twitter was hacked, my Instagram account, my YouTube was hacked, all my shit was hacked. And then when I got it back, these messages came in from 2019 to 2022. Even up until now, I was getting like stragglers. So it was for years awful for me. Like, and then Jimmy was doing these interviews after I came out with mine of, yeah, it's to lie or this, that, and everything. And I guess I get it. What's he gonna say? Oh yeah, I'm a whole, like, no, of course not. Calling these people off would have been great, but again, I guess he didn't want to admit to anything, and I get it, but like, it was truly insane what I had to go through online. And there's a little bit of positive, maybe every couple of days I get a message, but there's thousands of daily messages telling me to kill myself. It adds up, you know? I guess I can empathize with the fact that these are like 12-year-olds. Like, I get it, and even coming from kids, I'm an adult at the time, but it really does add up when all you see every day is how you're worthless and an awful person. it was really hard. And luckily, I had a good support system at home, but it was tough on me.
For the next few years, any criticism of MrBeast was completely shunned away. When MrBeast, through his Beast Philanthropy channel, claimed to cure blindness or deafness, advocates who spoke out about how he just gave cataract surgery or hearing aids were shoved off as haters. It was impossible to crack through the noise until 2024, when Ava Tyson left the company after allegations they had spoken inappropriately to a minor and had sexual relations with her executive assistant.
Dog Pack's video, which I'm sure you're familiar with, the guy who he interviewed, when he left, he was like, yeah, recently I made a positive video because I wasn't going to be the guy like everyone else got burned as soon as they left and made a bad video, so I was going to make a good video.
Jake Weddle first shared his story on YouTube in a video by former MrBeast employee Dawson French, known as Dogpack 404. Weddle had joined the Beast crew shortly after Turner's departure in February 2019, when Jimmy's channel was at 14 million subscribers. Like Turner, Weddle didn't know who MrBeast was before jumping into the chaos.
So I just knew a friend of mine was shooting something with some local YouTuber or whatever. I didn't really watch his stuff. I didn't really know who he was. And it wasn't until we all started working there as part-time writers, whenever we'd come in, we all had other jobs. I was in school. I met him before I saw a single video. It was just like a gaggle of kids that you'd see in any high school or college, just oh yeah, those are just a couple of guys at the mall, for all the pros and cons that may have, so I didn't really think too much of it. There was a group of guys.
Weddle would write for the MrBeast channel, appearing on screen, diving into dumpsters, playing hide and seek, being stuck in the world of virtual reality, and walking around a college campus having students eat a fake ghost pepper.
Sometimes they throw a random job at me that wasn't my job. I'm a writer, skinny little lanky guy, and the only times there was ever a mountain in a video, I had to location scout those. Don't know why I was, I don't location scout, I guess to go climb those mountains, I guess. There was a vibe if someone did want to do the job. Oh, Jake Weddle will do it. That's why I was in the dumpster diving video. It's fine.
Normal YouTubers would make them eat real ghost peppers, but we don't like torturing people. I mean, I do like torturing people, but not that much torturing people.
Though there were always new challenges at work, Weddle didn't exactly enjoy being stuck with them or writing for Jimmy, who he felt lacked a sense of humor and care for his employees.
Hated it. Oh God, I felt like I was writing the dumbest, stupidest. But I said to my friend, I said, this hurts my soul. And he said, you got to get rid of that. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. That's why he wants people around him who are just as obsessed and just as dedicated, because he hyperfixates, because he's the crazy person. And he wants to be surrounded with the same type of crazy. And I wanted to see my friends and have nights off. So we'd be butted heads because I think the way I do it, he wants people to do it. They're very, what's the word? Rhymes with the cult. Very culty, the way that he wants to make sure that everybody's as dedicated as he is, because then if you're as dedicated as he is and you don't complain, then you're going to go for work and underpaid. It gets rid of the human element. You were like, oh no, the human cost. That's not factored into the data. If Jimmy's factoring data, the human cost is not a factor. So in his world, oh my God, business is booming. But then we're looking at all these sad employees and we're like, no, it's not, but that's not factored into the equation.
After a year and a half at MrBeast, Weddle started to get frustrated with the content and his compensation, which he claimed was $44,000 a year. Multiple former MrBeast crew members I've spoken with claimed they were paid a similar amount, around the minimum wage of North Carolina at the time. In that environment, Weddle found it difficult to devote himself to the aura of Jimmy.
I was always in the half that was, oh, Jake wants to see his friends. Jake has the passion that he's excited about that isn't me. Get him out of here. He doesn't get any bonus. And people who, these not super bright, really obnoxious, sniffing their own farts, they're getting all the bonuses because they're making Jimmy happy. And I'm just sticking to my guns and eating it. I was getting disgruntled, but not because I was like, oh, I want what they have. I wanted my pay to be more proportional to my work. They were getting bonuses for making Jimmy happy. I wanted to get paid appropriately for my hard work. You work at MrBeast. How do you get paid less than an Applebee's manager? I was like, I don't know.
So one day, Weddle decided that he deserved more and approached the people at MrBeast with an offer.
I went in there fully prepared to talk about me, and I was like, I think I should deserve XYZ, and the other writer, your friend of mine, and when he told me how much he was getting paid, which was less than me, and he had a child and was much older than me, and yeah, I brought race into it because, he had to say hard lines. He was like, I hate this one guy. But I don't know, pattern of behavior, I'm just collecting data, right? I was just upset about my pay. I was really upset about his pay. The conversation was exactly how I said in the Dog Pack video. We went in there on one day and said, we need this. And I cited my sources. I said, the Writers Guild industry standard, internet streaming with ad breaks. That was the closest thing I could find that was YouTube-y. So I went in there with a union's name and with politics, and they said, get it out of here. And when I say we got severance checks the next day, that's not an exaggeration. They handed us 2 little envelopes, and they had checks in them with severance.
A year after he left, Weddle was approached by the MrBeast team, asking him if he wanted to be part of a new video to win $10,000 for every day he stayed in solitary confinement. In the video with Dogpack, Weddle goes on to explain how he felt he was essentially tortured, forced to stay in a room with the lights on 24 hours a day, and complete challenges like walking on a treadmill until his feet were covered in blisters.
And it got to a point where like they weren't turning the lights off. You know, I asked them, I said, can we like have like nighttime hours? And they said no, because it would fuck up the time lapse shots. The time lapse of what? Me sleeping? Or me not sleeping? The lights are on me all the time. I wasn't sleeping. I could not sleep, and I have insomnia problems now. But they might have started there. I had good people looking out for me. I had a lot of good people looking out for me, saying this we gotta stop. So I just wanted to turn the lights off. And I'm vocalizing to people, I wish the lights would turn off. And I go up to my friend, my good friend. And I go, they're not turning the lights off. He goes, what? That's a war crime. We're not allowed to do that to terrorists. Oh, good. 24 hours breaking the Geneva Convention, I guess, is what we're doing. So, you know, they're giving me, melatonin, it's not helping.
I was actually streaming. I don't know how people were talking about this, but one of the chatters said, Jake, is it true that one of the nights you were just screaming? And I had forgotten about that. And in the moment, I reacted with comedy. I think I did like a Bo Burnham, like, yeah. But yeah, that memory came back, and I can remember, I didn't say that in the video.
The challenge was supposed to go on for 30 days, but Weddle only lasted 11 before he couldn't handle any more, which is when Jimmy came in with a big check.
The thing that made me I gotta get out. I can't do another day in a year. Jimmy comes in and I'm asleep. I don't know what time it is. I don't know, it's like 2 or 3 or whatever. He's like, why is he sleeping? I don't know, because I can't sleep. And he comes in, he wakes me up. And he goes, ask me why I have 2 briefcases. And I'm like, why do you have 2 briefcases? And he goes, oh, because this one's for today, and this one's for the challenge. And I go, what's the challenge today? He goes, you're gonna run a marathon. You're gonna do the 22.6K, whatever it is. And you're gonna do it on that treadmill over there. I couldn't say no to the treadmill thing. People who run marathons train forever, and it's still hard. Again, writer. Do I look like I run? I don't run, let alone a marathon, let alone that training for it. So I was in a sunlightless, if I refuse, it's just, that's the whole video. I guess the budget's, so much money up in flames because Jake said he wouldn't want to do the thing. And so I wanted to be a good sport, and I wanted to get the boost, and I wanted the cash, and so I started running at 12. I was able to take some breaks, and I asked him, how long do I have? He goes, until I get back. And I'm running until 3 a.m. I got off the treadmill.
After I was literally unable to walk, my muscles were shot, my joints were shot, my feet had blisters on them, you wouldn't believe, and I literally couldn't stand up, I couldn't walk, and there's the psychological stuff on top of the physical stuff, like just, you'd be saying, no, you gotta do this, like you gotta say to the camera how thankful you are, that you can do this. My friend who, he's the guy who said, that Jimmy said, why is he mad? That's more money than he'll ever see in his life. Yeah, that's what goes through his head, when he's making people who desperately need cash, who desperately need something to live. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll give it to you, because I have it, but you better jump through the hoop first.
And I asked him, I said, how much longer are you guys going to keep me in here? And the guy goes, realistically, like at least 7 more days? No. And they didn't let me leave right away either. They wanted to make sure, everything was fine. So I just, slept for a while. they turned the lights off. And they brought, it's like they brought in all my friends, you know, to make it. They brought in all the people I liked and Jimmy. Then everybody was around me making sure I was good, making sure I was okay. But Jimmy had his he was sitting in the chair turned around like an evil villain. Swear to God, everyone was looking at me and he was like Lex Luthor over there. He turns around, he stands up. He does the exact same thing when he's pretending to have a human connection. You know when you're watching a video and he's like, oh, stop, you're gonna make me cry. And he like touches his eye or whatever as if he's crying. She says, as if rehearsed by his lawyers. Yeah, you know, your mental health's the most important thing. You know, I just want to make sure you're okay. And the last thing we want you to do is... I can almost hear the word Sue come out of his mouth. The S, he just stopped right before it got out.
Weddle's video in Asylum never saw the light of day, though the video idea did get remade without its most controversial elements. And he never expected to share the story online, but was happy he did.
He was an unbounded, just unprecedented wave of love that I have never received before in my life. From the bottom of my heart, can't say how thankful I was for that.
Weddle responded with his own videos and sketches, which originally did well. But after Weddle shared that Jimmy had reached out to him and paid him $50,000 as some form of compensation, the internet tide shifted.
Oh, this big wave of love. And then after that wave, some aftershock of the meanest, hideous, most awful comments that you've ever, it's not like the word that's so bad, it's the fact that you saw somebody on the internet talking about something that happened that was traumatic, that was hard for them to talk about, and you went out of your way to go to their section of the internet and tell them how much you don't like that and how much you what kind of psycho behavior is that? But, you just read a comment, your initial reaction is, oh, well, I was really vulnerable and that hurts a lot.
As to why he never shared his story before, Weddle never thought he could.
When I got at Beast, I came with people I love dearly. Every single one of those people I still do love dearly. Some of them maybe have drank more Kool-Aid than others. I cared about my friends' jobs. I cared about my friends' careers. My career, but I mean, if I cared more about my career, I probably would have stayed at Beast. Once I found out some stuff I found out, and on top of all the stuff that he did to me, and on top of all the stuff I saw behind the scenes, there was a straw that broke the camel's back recently, and one of the things that kind of helped the camel's back break was seeing Dogpack, it was employee more recently. He was shorter than me and more recent than me, and he's doing, what's my excuse? I was scared. I saw what happened to Turner. Turner just said Jimmy was mean to me. He called me slurs and made me cry at work, and the internet said, Turner, you should yourself. And I was like, well, then I should probably hush too, and so should everybody else hush. When I talked was the moment I had to talk, and no other moment was when I could have talked.
As more employees came out with their stories, they've been forced to reckon with what's happened to them. The trauma of years of neglect and anger has dragged them down, doing untold damage to their families, friends, and personal psyches. On November 1st, Jimmy Donaldson made his first statement on X about any of the allegations made over the past year. From years of covering MrBeast, I believe that Jimmy Donaldson only comments on situations when he has to, when his bottom line is threatened or his partners start to get cold feet.
Because he doesn't care. If you only respond when you have to, you don't care. People who care see it in real time and they do something about it. That's what who cares does. Jimmy has a goal, and anything that gets in the way of that goal, he has disdain for. What's that? You want to go home at 5 o'clock? I hate you. What's that? You want to get a union involved and slow down my production? Why do you think he's the biggest, most fastest growing? Because things that stop normal people who care about stuff don't stop him, because Jimmy just cares about one thing, and it's why everyone's getting hurt.
I genuinely enjoy helping people. It's something I've always kind of had an issue with, almost. I'm that much of a nice guy to the point where I see a homeless guy, I give them all the money in my wallet, and then when I get to where I'm going, I can't buy stuff because I give it to homeless people. I don't know why, right? And I'm not saying this to make myself look good, but I've just always been a really nice guy. I just have.
When the turmoil and anxiety while working for MrBeast subsided, Matt Turner and Jake Weddle both decided to speak honestly about their experiences, but that brought down an avalanche of dissent.
It honestly feels like the internet has become a safe space, and I have my own fan base totally removed. Like, I will never make a video on my own personal channel. I do woodworking, I do DIY tutorials. I have nothing to do with this side of the internet. And now that I have a fan base, I have almost 300,000 followers on Instagram, and that's my full-time job. And so it's like, I don't have my back against the wall anymore, and I'm the only account of this happening. My YouTube channel looks nothing like it used to. I always look like the same person, but all the comments on my new videos are people saying, "We're sorry we doubted you years ago," and it's so vindicating. Like, God, it's almost an emotional situation because, like, 19-year-old me would have absolutely killed to see these comments. I can't literally believe I opened my YouTube channel and it's people apologizing for not hearing me out, that I was right all along, rather than people telling me to myself. For years I had only negativity online, and now it's woodworking. And people are like, "I love what you're doing online," and it just feels so nice to know what that's like.
Jake Weddle also found happiness continuing his work online, regularly uploading comedic videos on his YouTube channel.
Who let the animators see their family for a weekend? God damn it. How much did the writers ask for? Yeah, we can set that on fire. It's fine.
I'm often asked if we are witnessing the downfall of MrBeast, if the allegations over the past year are going to make a dent in the $700 million Donaldson makes a year. Though his views are down and public sentiment has shifted from when he was the philanthropic poster boy, I'm still unsure what's going to happen. The Beast Games reality show is about to premiere, and Feastables are still taking up space on store shelves. He's still the biggest content creator and shows no signs of running out of steam.